Hello everyone. Today we are going to see the remaining part of Unit 3, which is left out in Unit 3. We will see the topics one by one. The first topic is synchronization in distributed systems. So distributed system is a collection of computers connected via the high speed communication network. This we all know. In the distributed system, the hardware and software components communicate and coordinate their actions by message passing. So they communicate. The hardware and software components communicate and coordinate their actions by message passing. Each node is distributed system. Each node in distributed systems can share their resources with other nodes. So there is a need of proper allocation of resources to preserve the state of resources and help coordinate between the several processes. So here we need to understand that there is a need of proper allocation of resources in distributed systems. To resolve such conflicts, that is for allocating resources, to resolve such conflicts, synchronization is used here. Synchronization in distributed systems is achieved via clocks. The physical clocks are used to adjust the time of nodes in the distributed system. Each node in the system can share its local time with other nodes in the system. So every node in the distributed system will share its local time with the other node in the distributed system. The time is set based on UTC. UTC is nothing but universal time coordination. So UTC is used as a reference time clock for the nodes in the distributed system. The clock synchronization can be achieved by two ways. They are external and internal clock synchronization. So one is external clock synchronization, second is internal clock synchronization. External clock synchronization is the one in which an external reference clock is present. So there will be a external clock in this part of synchronization. This clock is used as a reference and the nodes in the system can set and adjust their time accordingly. So in the distributed system, all the nodes can set and adjust their time, which is present in the external clock accordingly. Then coming to internal clock synchronization, it is the one in which each node shares its time with other nodes and all the nodes set and adjust their times accordingly. So internal clock will be present inside the system itself. So this is called internal clock synchronization. There are two types of clock synchronization algorithms. They are centralized algorithms and distributed algorithms. Centralized algorithms. Centralized algorithm is the one in which a time server is used as a reference. So the time server is used as a reference in centralized one. The single time server propagates its time to the nodes and all the nodes adjust the time accordingly. It is dependent on single time server. So if that node fails, if a particular node fails, the whole system will lose synchronization. Examples of centralized algorithms are Berkeley algorithm, passive time server algorithm, active time server algorithm. Coming to distributed algorithm, it is the one in which there is no centralized time server present. Instead, the nodes adjust their time by using their local time and then taking the average of the differences of time with other nodes. If there is any difference between the clock of different nodes, the node will adjust the timing. Distributed algorithms overcome the issue of centralized algorithms like scalability and single point failure. So the issues like scalability and single point of failure can be overcome by the distributed algorithms. Examples of distributed algorithms are global averaging algorithm, localized averaging algorithm, and NTP, network time protocol. Local clock, next topic is logical clock in distributed system. Next topic is logical clock in distributed system. Logical clock refer to implementing a protocol on all machines. So a protocol is implemented in all machines within the distributed system so that the machines are able to maintain consistent ordering of events within some virtual time span, within some virtual time limit. A logical clock is a mechanism for capturing chronological and causal relationship in a distributed system. Chronological and causal relationships in the distributed system. Distributed systems may have no physically synchronous global clock. So a logical clock allows global ordering on events from different processes in such systems. So here there will be no synchronous global clock. So the logical clock is used here in distributed system. Example for logical clock, if we go outside, then we have made a full plan that at which place we have to go first and second and third and so on. So before going to one place, we will decide where to go first and where to go second, etc. We don't go to second place at first and then the first place. So we won't go to the second place first and then the first place. So whatever we planned, the first place will be the first. We always maintain the procedure or an organization that is planned before. In a similar way, we should do the operations on our personal computers one by one in an organized way. So how we are planning when we go outside, to which place we have to visit first, second, etc. Similarly, we should also plan for our personal computers one by one in the distributed system. Suppose we have more than 10 PCs in a distributed system and every PC is doing its own work, but then how we make them work together? There comes a solution that is called logical clock. So that logical clock is used to make all the PCs work accordingly. So method 1 for logical clock: to order events across process, try to sync clocks in one approach. This means that if one PC has a time 2 p.m., then every PC should have the same time, which is quite not possible. In method 1, if one PC is having the time 2, particular time, then all the PC must have the time 2 p.m. So which is not possible. Not every clock can sync at one time. So every clock cannot be synced at one time. Some time is required for synchronization. So we cannot follow this particular method number 1. Method number 2, another approach is to design timestamps to events. So timestamps are allotted for events in the system. Taking the example into consideration, this means if we assign the first place as 1, second place as 2, third place as 3, and so on. We are assigning the value to the place where we are going to visit. Then we always know that the first place will always come first, and so on. Similarly, if we give each PC their individual number, then it will be organized in a way that first personal computer will complete its process first, then only the second PC will complete its process. But timestamps will only work as long as they obey causality. So we'll see what is causality. What is causality? Causality is fully based on happen before relationship. Taking single personal computer only if two events A and B are occurring one by one. So we are taking a single personal computer, in that there are two events A and B, they are occurring one by one. Then the timestamp of, that is TS of A, timestamp of A will be less than the timestamp of B. It is always true. If A has timestamp of 1, then B should have timestamp more than 1. Of course it is true. Then only happen before relationship occurs. The causality occurs. So now taking two PCs and event A in PC number 1 and event B in PC number 2. Then also the condition will be timestamp of A will be less than timestamp of B. Taking example, suppose if you are sending message to someone at the time 2 p.m., that is 2.00 minutes 0.00 seconds p.m. and other person is receiving it at 2.00.02 p.m. So 2 seconds extra will be taken for other person to receive it. So then it's obvious that the timestamp of the sender will always be less than the timestamp of receiver. Properties derived from happen before relationship, which is causality. Transitive relation. If timestamp of A is less than timestamp of B and timestamp of B is less than timestamp of C, then automatically timestamp of A will be less than timestamp of C. Second one, causally ordered relation. A implies B. This means that A is occurring before B. So A is the process, A is occurring before B, and if there is any changes in A, it will definitely reflect on B. This is causally ordered relation. Then coming to third one, concurrent event. This means that not every process occurs one by one. Some processes are made to happen simultaneously. That is A parallel B. A and B occurs parallelly or simultaneously. Next topic. Now we are moving on to next topic, mutual exclusion in distributed system. Mutual exclusion is a concurrency control property which is introduced to prevent race conditions. It is the requirement that a process cannot enter its critical section while another concurrent process is currently present or executing in its critical section. So when one process uses the critical section, other process cannot enter into the critical section. So this is what mutual exclusion. That is, only one process is allowed to execute the critical section at any given point of time. Mutual exclusion in single computer system versus distributed system. So in single computer system, memory and other resources are shared between different processes. So in single computer system, the memory and the resources are shared between the processes. The status of shared resources and the status of users is easily available in the shared memory with the help of shared variable which is called semaphore. Mutual exclusion problem can be easily solved using semaphore concept. So you have already seen in operating system subject. In coming to distributed systems, in distributed systems we neither have shared memory nor a common physical clock. So there is no shared memory and there is no common physical clock, and therefore we cannot solve mutual exclusion problem using shared variables in distributed systems. To eliminate the mutual exclusion problem in distributed system, message pausing is used. So in order to eliminate the mutual exclusion problem in distributed system, the message pausing concept is used. A site in distributed system, that is a website in distributed system, do not have complete information of state of the system due to lack of shared memory and a common physical clock. So since there is no common physical clock and there is no shared memory, the distributed system do not have the complete information of the state of the system. Requirements of mutual exclusion algorithm. No deadlock. So there should be no deadlock. Two or more website should not endlessly wait for any message that will never arrive. So deadlock means two or more sites should not endlessly wait for any message that will never arrive. So this should not be there. That is called no deadlock. No starvation. There should be no starvation. Every site who wants to execute critical section should get an opportunity to execute in it finite time. Any site should not wait indefinitely to execute critical section while other sites are repeatedly executing the critical section. So this is called starvation. Starvation should not be there. Fairness. Each site should get a fair chance to execute critical section. Any request to execute critical section must be executed in the order they are made. That is, critical section execution requests should be executed in the order of their arrival in the system. Then next, fault tolerance. It should tolerate the fault. In case of failure, it should be able to recognize the failure by itself in order to continue functioning without any disruption. So it should the system should tolerate the fault by itself. Solution to distributed mutual exclusion. It is known that shared variables or a local kernel cannot be able to cannot be used to implement mutual exclusion in distributed system. So shared variables cannot be used in distributed system. So message passing is the way to implement the mutual exclusion. There are three approaches based on message passing to implement mutual exclusion in distributed systems. They are token based algorithm, non-token based approach, quorum based approach. Token based algorithm. A unique token is shared among all the sites. So here in token based algorithm, a unique token is shared among all the sites in the distributed system. If a site possesses the unique token, it is allowed to enter its critical section. So when a when a particular website contains the unique token, then only it is permitted to enter to its critical section. This approach uses sequence number to order requests for the critical section. So sequence number is used for the token. Each request for critical section contains a sequence number. This sequence number is used to distinguish old and current requests. This approach ensures mutual exclusion as the token is unique. Example for token based algorithm is Suzuki Kasami's broadcast algorithm. Coming to next approach, non-token based approach. Here the token is not used. A site communicates with other site in order to determine which site should execute critical section next. This requires exchange of two or more successive round of messages among sites. Here the message passing is involved. This approach uses timestamps instead of sequence number to order requests for the critical section. Whenever a site makes request for critical section, it gets a timestamp. So whenever a particular site make request for critical section, it gets a timestamp. The timestamp is also used to resolve any conflict between critical section requests. All algorithm which follows non-token based approach maintains a logical clock. Logical clocks get updated according to Lamport scheme. So there is a scheme called Lamport scheme that is used in logical clocks used in this particular approach. So example for non-token based approach is Lamport's algorithm, Ricart-Agrawala algorithm. Third one, quorum based approach. Instead of requesting permission to execute the critical section from all other sites, each site requests only a subset of sites, which is called a quorum. So instead of requesting all the sites available in the distributed system, so it requests only a subset of sites. So that subset of sites are called quorum. Any two subsets of sites or quorum contains a common site. So this common site is responsible to ensure the mutual exclusion. So any two subset of sites or quorum contains a common site. So that common site is responsible for solving the mutual exclusion. Example, Merkavah's algorithm. So next topic is election algorithm in distributed processing and distributed processing. Distributed algorithm is an algorithm that runs on a distributed system. Distributed system is a collection of independent computers that do not share their memory. This we know that. Each processor has its own memory and they communicate via communication networks. Communication in networks is implemented in a process on one machine communicating with the process on other machine. Many algorithms used in distributed system require a coordinator which performs functions needed by other processes in the system. So the distributed system actually require a coordinator. The election algorithms are designed to choose that particular coordinator here. So actually the election algorithms are used to choose the coordinator for the distributed system. Requirements of mutual exclusion algorithm. No deadlock. So there should be no deadlock. Two or more website should not endlessly wait for any message that will never arrive. So deadlock means two or more sites should not endlessly wait for any message that will never arrive. So this should not be there. That is called no deadlock. No starvation. There should be no starvation. What is causality? Causality is fully based on happen before relationship. Taking single personal computer only if two events A and B are occurring one by one. So we are taking a single personal computer. In that there are two events A and B. They are occurring one by one. Then the timestamp of, that is TS of A, timestamp of A will be less than the timestamp of B. It is always true. If A has timestamp of 1, then B should have timestamp more than 1. Of course it is true. Then only happen before relationship occurs. The causality occurs. So now taking two PCs and event A in PC number 1 and event B in PC number 2. Then also the condition will be timestamp of A will be less than timestamp of B. Taking example, the physical clocks are used to adjust the time of nodes in the distributed system. Bully algorithm. Suppose process P sends a message to the coordinator. If coordinator does not respond to it within the time interval capital T, then it is assumed that the coordinator has failed. So if the coordinator does not respond to the process within the time interval T, then it is assumed that the coordinator is failed. Now process P sends election message to every process with high priority number. It waits for responses. If no one responds for time interval T, then process P elects itself as a coordinator. So if no response comes from any other process, then the process P itself elects as a coordinator. Then it sends a message to all lower priority number processes that it is selected as their new coordinator. For informing the coordinator status, now the process P is the coordinator. So for informing that, it sends the message to all the lower priority number processes. However, if an answer is received within time, so the previous case is if the answer is not received within the time. Now if the answer is received within the timestamp from any other process Q, the process P again waits for time interval T to receive another message from Q that it has been elected as coordinator. If Q doesn't respond within the time interval T, then it is assumed to be failed. The process Q is assumed to be failed and the process Q cannot be chosen as a coordinator. Fairness. Each site should get a fair chance to execute critical section. Any request to execute critical section must be executed in the order they are made. That is, critical section execution requests should be executed in the order of their arrival in the system. Then next, fault tolerance. It should tolerate the fault. In case of failure, it should be able to recognize the failure by itself in order to continue functioning without any disruption. So actually algorithm, if process P1 detects a coordinator failure, it creates new active list which is empty initially. So when P1 detects a coordinator failure, it creates a new active list which is initially empty. It sends election message to its neighbor on the right and adds number 1 to its active list. So what happens? It sends election message to its neighbor on the right and adds number 1 to its active list. If process P2 receives message elect from processes on left, it responds in 3 ways. Number 1, if message received does not contain 1 in active list, then P1, process P1 adds the number 2 to its active list and forwards the message. Second way, if this is the first election message it has received or sent, the process P1 creates new active list with the numbers 1 and 2. Then it sends election message 1 followed by 2. Third way, if process P1 receives its own election message 1, then active list for process P1 now contains numbers of all active processes in the system. Now process P1 detects highest priority number from the list and elects it as the new coordinator. Elects the process P1 as the new coordinator. Next topic is location system. So which can be referred as real-time location system. Real-time location system, also known as real-time tracking systems, are used to automatically identify and track the location of objects or people in real time. So it is used to, the system is used to automatically identify and track the location of the objects or people in the real time, usually within a building or other contained area. Examples of real-time locating systems include tracking automobiles through an assembly line. So how we are tracking the car by using the GPS. So that is the example. And locating pallets of merchandise in a warehouse, or finding medical equipment in a hospital. So these are the examples of real-time locating system. Then it sends a message to all lower priority number processes that it is selected as their new coordinator. For informing the coordinator status, now the process P is the coordinator. So for informing that, it sends the message to all the lower priority number processes. However, if an answer is received within time, so the previous case is if the answer is not received within the time. Now if the answer is received within the timestamp from any other process Q, the process P again waits for time interval T to receive another message from Q. So next topic is gossip based coordination. A gossip protocol is the procedure or process of computer peer-to-peer communication that is based on the way epidemics spread. Some distributed systems use peer-to-peer gossip to ensure that data is disseminated to all members of a group. A gossip protocol is simple in concept. Each node sends out some data to a set of other nodes. Data propagates through the system node by node system. Data propagates through the system node by node like a virus. Eventually, data propagates to every node in the system. So with this, we are completing the third unit. Thank you.